Welcome to Let's Talk Healthy Living. I'm Marlene, your host. For this video, we're having another chat about nutrition. It's such an important topic. But this time, we're chatting with Susan Alsembach, functional nutritionist and nurse. She's got a really unique approach and perspective to nutrition that looks at many areas of our lifestyle that we may not even want to think about or even want to talk about. Listen in and share your comments. Susan, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us.
Thank you for coming all this way.
And this is what I think this is the second video that we've done on specifically on nutrition.
Okay.
And the first one was quite popular. I think it's even some people actually came to me and said, Marlene, why don't you do more talks on that?
Okay.
So we'd like to do more of that. So I'm really pleased that you took the time to come and speak with us. And thank you all as well for taking the time to watch and listen. So Susan, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? I'm sure our viewers are curious, and I certainly am curious in learning more about you.
Happy to do that.
And why you love nutrition.
Why I love nutrition. So I originally trained as a nurse over 30 years ago and fell into nutrition 10 years ago. I've always liked food. Grew up in Europe, so obviously there's a very food orientation. I think a lot of people really enjoy their meals, and food there is important. And when my daughter fell ill about 10 years ago is when I really started to question what was going on. And that's when I realized that food was having a huge impact on her health, and went down that food rabbit hole, and I'm still there and enjoying it.
Yes, but what are some of the things that you focus on? Because one of your role is a functional nutritionist.
Yes.
So what does that really mean?
Functional means that we really look at the way the body interacts. We look at all the systems. We don't just look at the body in isolation, which is very different to when I was nursing, because when you nurse, you narrow down on things. So as a functional nutritionist, we're really looking to get to the root cause of issues. So we take into account everything that is impacting that person. So when somebody comes to see me, I'm not just looking at their gut health, I'm understanding all the other factors that are having an impact on that and helping them understand what's happening. Mm-hmm. And that's the functional part of it, right? How things function to work together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of people need to realize that, because it's holistic, right?
It is.
And that's essentially what you do.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
You're looking at health.
Yeah, looking at health, supporting health even with people that have chronic illnesses, because again, I think there's this misconception that if I suffer from a chronic disease, I'm not healthy. And I think we need to change the discourse around that and say, well, even if you have a chronic disease, you can still be healthy and maintain your health. Myself, I'm asthmatic. I've been asthmatic since birth. Do I consider myself sick? No. But there are things I'm very aware of that impact my asthma, so I work around it or work with it.
And nutrition is a significant
part of it, yeah.
Completely.
Yeah.
And you talk about gut health as well. And because that's a really important part of that, right? Because that is exactly where it starts. So can you talk a little bit about gut health and the importance of gut health? Because I know that when we talk about gut health, that's a topic that most people don't even want to talk about. However, let's chat about it a little bit.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. Gut health is really important. We need to remember that is where the absorption of the energy of the food that we eat takes place. That's where there's that shift in energy. It goes from the food into our bodies to provide us with the energy to go through our days, to do our activities, to get on with our jobs and our daily lives. So if our gut health is impacted by inflammation, which is the case for, I would say, 70% of the clients that I see, it all starts in the gut. Whatever is happening, we always look at the gut first, because that then leads us to other issues that are downstream, as we say. So, we look at the root cause and we go upstream to find out what's going on.
And what does a healthy gut look like?
A healthy gut looks like somebody who can go about their day and not be aware of their gut. And most people, again, don't realize this. The normalization of digestive discomfort, so bloating, cramps, excessive gas, so discomfort because we're quite gassy, acidity, reflux. All of these have been normalized, and they're not normal. This is really the body telling us, I'm in imbalance, I'm not at ease, I'm in dis-ease, right? But society, because we can take a pill for acid reflux, because we can take a pill for this, we just think it's okay. And that's where I think, if there's anything that your listeners take away, is understanding that these symptoms are an indication that your gut is not at ease, it's in imbalance.
Mm-hmm. And what are some of the things that we can do to promote a healthy gut flora?
Healthy gut flora. Hydration would be one of them, making sure that we are drinking plenty. It's very important for the gut to be well hydrated for it to function well. It helps with the absorption of those nutrients when we're eating them. We're looking at not eating constantly throughout the day, which is often something that a lot of my clients are doing. When we eat constantly throughout the day, we're putting a lot of stress on our gut health, and we're looking to try and release that stress. We don't often think about what's happening internally. I feel that a lot of us take our bodies for granted. So when we start looking inward and we realize how our body's functioning, we realize that there are very simple things that we can do. So giving our body time in between meals for our digestive system to rest and restore is super important. Trying to reduce the intake of added and hidden sugars, which are one of the primary concerns when we're looking at gut health. They are highly inflammatory for our gut, and I don't think people realise to what extent it is. I have an 83-year-old client that I've been working with on and off over a year, and was eating relatively well. When we actually looked at her diet, there were several areas where these hidden sugars were. And by switching them out for more natural sugars in fruits and nuts and things like that, she had a reduction in inflammation in her joints, and her gut felt better.
Mm-hmm.
So it's possible for anybody.
Yes, completely. But one of the things that you mentioned is to not eat frequently. But
we're told
that we should do it.
Metabolism going.
Yes, but we need to be eating more frequently. For me, I probably do the not eating frequently. I may have a really my biggest meal is maybe around noon, and then I'm good for like the next 5 hours. But most people are taught to eat frequently, so that kind of goes against what.
Yeah, I know. Like about 5-6 years ago, there was a huge push to in the media keep your metabolism fueled. Our metabolism works whether we're eating or not. It's the rate at which our body burns energy. So really what we're looking at for gut health, as I said, is to give it that time in between meals so it can really rest. It's almost as if we were to put our car in the morning and let it run all day and then expect it to still keep functioning well. We have to understand our body's internal clocks, and that's a lot of the work that I do with clients. It's helping them have that understanding so that they can then adapt the meals and the timing of their meals in their day to actually fit in with their lifestyle rather than the other way around.
Mm-hmm. And just to end on, in terms of gut health anyways, what do you think about probiotics and prebiotics? Because a lot of people talk about that. I've been taking probiotics, prebiotics for a long time, and I found it very helpful. What are your thoughts about that?
It's down to each individual situation. There are times I think it can be very important if somebody has been on a strong course of antibiotics. If we think of the word antibiotics, they're actually killing off all the bacteria, good and bad, in our gut. So we really do need to boost the good gut bacteria back up again. So probiotics and prebiotics in those types of situations can be very helpful to give somebody a boost. If somebody has been ill, has a chronic illness and has been really down for a long time, I would use them as support. But then as soon as the gut and that person reaches a certain stage, I would much rather we then turn to food to replace and replenish those good bacteria, because there's lots of good foods out there that do the job just as well.
That is true. Can you tell our viewers some of them?
Anything that's green and leafy. Fermented foods are amazing, but again, we need to bring them in very gently, and that's the issue. I have people that go, I'm going to bring in fermented foods, and they've never had them before, and they bring them in every day, and at the end of that they feel chronically ill, because what we don't realise is our body needs time to adjust. So any changes that we make, they need to be gradual to allow the body to go, okay, this is what's happening. I can do this. If we go too quickly, it doesn't like it.
Yes, completely. Everything in moderation, right? That's what I generally say. And let's talk about dieting, because that's one of your specialty as well. And that is something that you kind of discourage. And I think I talk a lot about that as well. That instead of dieting, we should just see how we can change our eating habits. But one of the things you just speak about is that 80-20 concept. Can you explain to our viewers a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I do it myself. I know lots of people that do it. I think it's changing our relationship with food, understanding what food really means for us. If we are eating well, and by that I'm meaning fresh fruit, vegetables, grains, meat, dairy products in a balanced way that fits our lifestyle, that fits our age, we're not on a diet, we're eating well. That means that we have a 20% we can play around with if we're going to somebody's wedding, if we're going to a birthday party. I don't want to be the person turning up and saying, I can't eat that, I'm sorry, I'm on a diet. I'm there for other reasons. I'm there for the social reasons, I'm there for the connections. So I think there are times in life, in those 20%, where food can take a backseat. We're okay with that, because if it's one event, one evening, a holiday, that means that when we go back to our daily life, we go back to eating normally again. And I recently did a post, because I was really kind of curious about this, how people see it, about how many meals we actually eat in a lifetime, right? We get very stressed out. I have clients that get so stressed out of one meal or something they did over a weekend, and I'm like, it's okay. You have lots of other meals, that you can think of, and if it's every day your baseline is good, then you have that 20% to play around with and not feel stressed and enjoy it, right? There are foods I don't eat all the time, but I thoroughly enjoy them when I eat them.
And it's just also about having a positive relationship around food instead of stressing out about that.
Yeah.
So how can we ensure that and create that environment to have that positive relationship with food?
I think that's where it comes down to letting go of this notion of diet and understanding the value of the food, working with food. I often have clients that say to me, but is this, and we're talking about fruits and vegetables, is this one better for me than the other? Now, if we're just talking about the average person who has no real specific health concerns, it could just be weight, cholesterol, things like that, then every fruit and vegetable is good for us. One of the things that drives me absolutely berserk is this notion of superfoods. Eat these 3 foods and you'll magically, erase all the issues that you're having. It really is about the variety, it's about the quantity, and it's about the timing when we're eating things. So I think really understanding that food is good for us, but understanding when it's good for us and the times that it isn't. If you're having a big heavy meal at night, that's not the best idea in the world. If it happens once in a while, of course it's fine. It's when it's that repetition that comes in. So to go back to the question, I think it really is, it's reframing how we see food and not labeling things as good as bad, but understanding that balance, that 80-20 balance, really.
Yeah, and everyone's different, right? Yeah. Because what can work for one person may not necessarily work for another. Yeah. I think that is something that we need to realize as well.
This is it, and culturally, I have worked with people that have moved to Canada that are here and they're lost. They can't find the same ingredients. They're confused about what they're seeing in the supermarket, and it takes time to adjust and adapt when we change and we come from a different culture, even a different part of Canada. So I think sometimes we need to take a step back and be kind to ourselves and say, okay, right, well, this is a transition period. I'm just about finding my footing. When we moved here, it took me 2 years to literally kind of figure out how we were going to eat well.
Yeah, so exactly, and also it's about the quantity as well.
Yeah.
It's about how much we eat. Also,
this is it, and that's tuning into our satiety levels. So we learn to let go of the dieting because all these outside numbers will never tell us how we're feeling. I always say to my clients when they're making positive changes, please hide your scales. Don't stand on them. Because if you're making some positive changes and you're feeling good and you have less bloating and you've got more energy and you're doing all of this and you're feeling good, and you get on the scales and they're the same, the mental impact that number has is huge.
The stress it puts on you as well.
This is it, which is insane. So we allow that number to have a huge impact on us when in fact it is just a number. It hasn't said, I'm feeling better. It hasn't said, I've got more energy in the afternoon. And yet we allow that number to impact us. So that's one of the first things I ask my clients to do, especially when they're looking at weight loss. Hide it. I've even told some clients, get your partner to hide it somewhere you don't know so you can't go and find it.
Just get rid of it completely. I've never owned a scale. I have never refused.
I stand on it once in a while if I really have to, but otherwise I'm like, as long as my clothes fit, I'm happy. I don't
That's exactly it. Because you go by how your clothes fit, right?
Yeah.
And also how you feel, because I think one of the things that I like to remind people that muscles weigh more than fat. So your scale may say a certain number, but it may not necessarily be completely accurate. Maybe you're just gaining more muscle.
How much have you been drinking the day before or not? Have you had a bowel movement that morning? And the last time you weighed yourself, what were the conditions like? Were they exactly the same? Because that's where people get confused too. And so they hop on the scales, they're wearing different clothes, and then they get stressed out by something that really has no value to them.
But you're talking about bowel movement doesn't mean that people should go out there and take lots of laxatives.
Yeah, please don't do that.
Please do not do that. That's not what Susan's saying.
Please don't.
At all. But one of the things that you mentioned as well is you're telling our viewers not to eat late. Mm-hmm. And can we talk a little bit about that? Because how is the impact on the impact of when we eat and how we eat and what we eat when?
In the evening, we don't realise that our body has internal rhythms 24/7, and I often say to my clients, we need most of our energy during the morning and the afternoon. In the evening, most of us, let's face it, are sitting at home, we're relaxing, we're watching TV, maybe some people are crafting or going for a light walk. Our body internally is getting ready to go to sleep, right? It's producing those hormones that make us tired. So if we hand it a big meal that it has to digest, that our digestive system has to work very hard at, that's not in its program. So most of those heavy meals that we eat at night, the body is trying to keep us in balance. So a lot of that energy will actually be stored and not used. And this is where people don't realize the value of the timing of when we eat, because they don't understand these internal rhythms. And that is a lot of the work I do, is helping people piece together, coming back to it, like the functionality of our body, these internal rhythms, so that when we work with them, we don't have to diet, we don't have to count calories, and we really tune in more to how we feel and how the food makes us feel through the day.
But what about those people who work shift hours, for example?
That's trickier, but we can still manage it in slightly different ways. Mm-hmm. For example, when I was nursing, you do adapt your food to when you're eating, and you obviously do still need to eat through the night, again, depending on people, but we just switch certain things around for them so that it matches more what they need rather than what they think they need.
Okay, so it's not about, let's say you eat at 10 o'clock, but then you're going to bed at, for example, 1 o'clock, even though maybe you should go to bed at 1 o'clock.
Some people do.
Some people do, that's all right. But, so what about things like that? Because does it depend upon what time you're going to bed to give your body enough time to digest?
Not really. For most of us, and this is where we don't realise, it's that circadian rhythm coming in. So even though we're staying up later, most of us are staying up later because of the blue lights, because of, things that are taking our attention away from rhythms that when we, again, pay attention to, we realise we get sleepy. I recently had a client, just this morning I was talking with, she noticed a shift in her energy because she was exercising more in the morning. She's actually realised that she feels tired at night. And that's natural. That's how we should feel at night. Now, yes, we have night owls for sure, but we still don't want to be having a big heavy meal at 10 o'clock at night, because that internal clock is still working and the body will really struggle with that heavy meal. Mm-hmm. It won't like it.
Yeah, but what about having a little bit of you're feeling a little bit peckish and you want to have a little bit of a snack? would you recommend that, and what would you recommend?
You can. I would then suggest things that are more protein based, because what we're looking to do at that point in the day or over 24 hours is to keep our blood sugars down. And one of the best ways of keeping our blood sugars down is focusing on snacks that are more protein based or healthy fat based. So things like nuts and olives, a boiled egg, maybe some slices of ham, that kind of thing will not raise your blood sugars, but will also fill in more that sensation of satiety, so making us feeling fuller for longer. Mm-hmm. So that's often what I suggest to my clients, even during the day. If we want a snack, is try and go with something that will not raise our blood sugars as much.
Yeah, particularly for people who are obviously diabetic.
Exactly, right, this is it. And again, these are a lot of people that feel, well, I can't eat sweet things anymore, I can't do this and I can't do that. And I'm like, actually you can, but let's figure out what's going on. What does your day look like? And then we can figure out how, again, food is going to fit into it.
That's perfect. And what, if you were to give, let's say, top 3 advice, nutrition advice to our viewers, what would you tell them? Particularly those who may be, like many of us, who may be struggling a little bit with getting that nutrition right.
I would say number 1, be kind to yourself. Okay, please don't blame yourself. There's a lot of things out there in the food industry that so many of us are not aware of. So, especially when I have clients that come to me for weight loss, for sugar issues, as soon as we start to look into it, they understand it better and they're like, wow, I didn't realise that. So number 1, be kind to yourself. 2, try where possible to reduce the highly processed foods in excess. So I'm not saying get rid of them completely, but where you can, maybe make some simple swaps out. So instead of buying that frozen meal 4 or 5 times a week, or instead of taking that takeout meal 4 or 5 times a week, maybe just do something really simple for dinner. A sandwich that you make at home from scratch is a perfectly acceptable dinner. I don't know why people don't do it more often, especially when we're stressed and busy. I think we have a notion that dinners must be cooked. I don't think that's the case. Dinners can be what they need to be. So try and do that. Try and do those little swaps that are easy. We're looking for the little wins. Nothing drastic. And then I would say the 3rd thing is just bring in sweet things that you enjoy. Try not to deprive yourself, because there's always going to be that kickback if we do. And that's why, for me, diets are just, anything that's very restrictive means that at one point we're going to have enough of that, and then we're just going to go back to eating that, probably more than we used to in the first place, which is what happens when people do keto for a very long time. I've had several clients who they've done keto, there's been no pasta, no this, no that, and then, that's all they eat because they've just not had it for so long.
So Susan, can you tell the viewers, how can the viewers contact you?
So they can contact me through my website, which is susanalsembach.com. I also have a very new YouTube channel, which is Healthy Life Blueprint, that they can easily find. And I have my socials if ever they're interested. The same thing on Facebook, Susan Alsembach, and the same on Instagram.
Right, so take the time, reach out to Susan, check out her Instagram page, Facebook page. She's on YouTube as well. She's got a couple videos on YouTube.
Yeah.
And you'll love it. So reach out to Susan anytime.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Susan, for chatting with us.
Let's take time for living.
Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thanks for tuning in.